Hi guys, we got a trophy today. We're here with Andrew Magno. He was drafted by the Detroit Tigers. He's from my hometown of Dublin, Ohio, so we're really excited to have you on.
Yeah, it's good to be here. It's cool to run into somebody from Dublin in Florida.
Florida. That's what I was going to talk about that later and we'll get into it. But growing up, in hometown like Dublin, Ohio, when did you get into baseball specifically?
So I grew up in a family. I have 5 brothers, and the 3 older ones played baseball. 2 of them played in college. So just growing up, I grew around baseball. Started playing, as early as I could. It was something that I was just born into, I guess. But love it. And love every part of it.
No, did you play any other sports growing up, or was it always just baseball?
No, it's actually funny. My favorite athlete ever is Tiger Woods, and so I grew up playing golf, baseball, basketball here and there, but nothing more after that.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to play golf growing up by Muirfield, and everything. I mean, it sucks you in. Even if you're not the best golfer, you still want to play, man. So, talk about your high school career a bit, at Scioto, and then when did you start to get, a little bit more like hype and, recruiting-wise, where it's like, hey, I could play, college baseball?
So I didn't make the varsity team at Scioto until I was a junior in high school, and from there, I was okay. I did a throwing program with weighted balls going into high school, which helped me gain a little bit of velocity. It helped a lot with just being healthy. It really wasn't until travel baseball, my junior summer, going into my senior year, my sophomore year summer, that was the first time I'd ever played travel baseball. And so then the next year, everything started to kind of come together. My recruiting process was maybe 5 weeks. Had a few schools reach out really, really quick. One of them being Ohio State, and then by the end of July, start of August, right before my senior year was starting, I committed to Ohio State.
Do you think like not making the varsity team first couple years really helped you down the line learn to work at it and everything?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I always had a little bit of a chip on my shoulder when it came to baseball in high school. I almost got cut from my middle school team in 8th grade, and the middle school coach told me that I was a 1-inning guy and will always be a 1-inning guy. So I kind of went out there and wanted to prove him wrong a little bit. But also, I just wanted to work hard and do it for that.
Yeah. No, sometimes it's our blessing. I had it freshman year. I sent time to Bucknell, and I was like, I want to play, college, play for your school. And he sent back. He said, you will never play college tennis in your life. And I printed that out and I put it on my wall and I looked at it. I mean, it's something about that really gets you going.
Yeah.
So, what made Ohio State the school for you, and somewhere you wanted to continue your career at?
I mean, growing up in Columbus is a big thing, and being an Ohio State fan and being able to not only watch football but watch baseball games and be a Buckeye is something. It was kind of a tough decision where the front runner was Kent State. That's also in Ohio. It gave me a pretty decent scholarship offer for Ohio State, which did not. I was a preferred walk-on at Ohio State, but ultimately, if you're a kid in Columbus, you dream of being Buckeyes. So
you bleed.
Yeah,
you bleed it.
I had to take that chance, and I did, and it was the best. And I'm glad to be a Buckeye for the rest of my life.
Yeah. So your freshman year, you didn't play a whole lot. You had I think 4 or 5 games I saw in there. Your sophomore year, the ERA was up there a bit. But then junior year, you had a great How'd that go about that progression of where the junior year was so successful and everything?
Yeah. My freshman year, I was still kind of a thrower. I had a tendency in high school to walk a lot of guys, but also run my pitching counts up really, really high. So the way it works in Ohio is you have Monday, Wednesday, Friday for your high school games. I would start on Monday with about 120 pitches. and then I would start 3 days later.
Yeah.
And go 120%.
Yeah.
And so, kind of was trying to work around that. The game kind of sped up on me a little, freshman and sophomore year. Getting into the right mindset of being a reliever, and coming in and making sure that, hey, like, I got to be ready now. We got to do what we got to do. And really, it was a lot of mental stuff. Controlling my breathing was a big thing. Coach Beals would come out to me, taking me out of games, or even just seeing me. Like, I can see that your breathing is out of whack. I can see that you're spaced and looking around. And it got into my head a little bit. As soon as I would walk a guy, kind of start looking over my shoulder, see when somebody's warming up or when the coach was gonna pull me. And so what really kind of changed around that time, my sophomore year, I hit 95 for the first time in a game. And from there, it was like, hey, there's value in what I'm doing. I just need to hone it in more. And so for my sophomore year to my junior year, I think the stat was we lost like 86% of our innings pitched to the draft and to graduation. And so from there, it was, there's only a handful of guys that had experience and guys that had to step up. And so going into that fall, it was kind of, I had a pretty good summer in terms of college summer ball, but coming into that fall, they were looking at me to maybe extend out and be a starter. But at the end of the day, it came back to me finishing games and being in a late inning role. And that's what it kind of turned them into. And got my chances in games and started to make the most of it and start to roll into that shell. So yeah.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Next one's a two-parter. So when you were at Ohio State, you made the NCAA tournament. I want to ask how that experience was, and then two is like, when do you think it's going to be where what's it going to take for like a Big Ten team to make that upper echelon, get in the College World Series and starting to become more successful, because it's starting to get dominated by SEC, some of those type of schools.
Yeah. So I see those experiences are really fun. I think, especially with having a Big Ten tournament and then rolling into the NCAA tournament. You're seeing teams that you haven't really ever seen before. So it feels kind of fresh, it feels kind of new. But your conference tournament really prepares you for the mindset of the NCAA tournament, where it's, hey, every game could be your last with this team, or it's a winner go home, even if it's not. And so it no longer turns into, okay, well, in college you play 3-game series, so it's okay, we lose the first one, let's go get the next two. Or you win the first two and you lose one, you're fine with that weekend. It turns into, but you need to win every game. And it's a fun atmosphere to be in, but it also turns into every inning is crucial. Paying attention to every moment is crucial. And so,
in the stands, you get a lot more fans coming out to that.
Especially when you are not a host. So coming in and coming into a hostile environment, I love it. I think it's fun. I think the energy that brings makes everyone play better. And I think that level of baseball doesn't get as much hype and praise as it deserves. It's a lot of guys that you've been grinding with these dudes since you got to campus in the fall and worked through the winter, and now it's time to go. And it's just a fun way to end it. And you hope you can make it to the end. So I think, especially with seeing Michigan get there with the pitching they did, I think Big Ten baseball is moving in a good trend towards recruiting a lot of guys from outside their state.
Do you think the weather has a big thing with that?
I think it does. We usually tend to go on this 5-week stretch at the start of the season where we go down south to play. But ultimately at the end of the day, you got to win baseball games. It doesn't matter. If you're on turf, grass, it's hot or cold. But it definitely has an effect because when we're trying to practice in February, we literally have a practice week where we can go down to Florida and practice for a week because we can't do that when it's 28 degrees and snowing outside.
Yeah.
And so, but at the end of the day, every team's prepared. I think a lot of it comes from just the work ethic and the standards that teams set before them. And I think you're seeing a lot of really good coaches in the Big Ten now that are making that happen and developing guys really, really well. Nebraska's done it. Burstead was the coach there for a while, and the guy they brought in has done really well. The head coach at Michigan State is a pretty respected coach nationally. Coach Beals, I can't speak positively. That guy is great. I think he's a great guy. Preparing teams and getting teams mentally ready. And the staff that he has next to him is fantastic in the way that they prepare guys. And so I think they're getting there. And of course, Team Up North, Coach Backage does a good job with his guys. And so it's starting to become the idea that it's not like, hey, this is kind of a long shot. A lot of people saw what Michigan did with the pitching that they got and said, hey, this is possible for us. That year that Michigan went to the College World Series, we beat them 3 times. We went 3-1 against them in a year. And so it's like, if they can do this, why can't we? And so it's pushing more towards what Coach Bills will always say is our goal this year is to get into a 3-game series and see who goes on because anything can happen. And so I think it's becoming much more attainable. I think the athletes in state are getting better. And so it's the idea of we got to get these guys that are top of the top in state and the JUCO routes and the guys out of state that come in.
A few of my friends, one grew up in Olentangy, another one up in Alliance, they both signed with Ohio State top in the state. I mean, they're starting to get Ohio. They're really recruiting by Ohio State.
And that's great. And so I think, honestly, it's a matter of time before you see Indiana nationally ranked every year. You see Michigan nationally ranked every year. Minnesota had a fantastic stretch. They hosted a super regional the other year. And so Johnny Anderson's a good coach too. And so you're looking at guys that know what they're doing around baseball. I think it's a matter of time before we see more Big Ten schools make that trip to Omaha. And I think we're getting pretty close to that.
So I want to transition more toward your professional career now. So when did you realize, professional baseball could be for you? You sounds like you had the underdog mentality most of your life. When did you realize that was for you?
I've always wanted to play professional baseball. Growing up playing baseball.
Ohio too. I mean, Ohio's baseball.
And so growing up in that sport, you want to do is the highest level. And I think it started to look attainable. My senior year of high school. At the end of my senior year, I got a stray call from the Rangers after the 10th round, asking about how I thought maybe I would want to go to college or do the professional thing. So that was exciting to hear first, to have some be noticed in that regard. I really didn't think it was like the thing, and that it was attainable and was going to happen. Probably until the fall of my junior year. We have a pro day every year at Ohio State, and so when I pitched at my pro day, we had some scouts there, and then after that I started to have some of the introductory meetings with multiple teams, and there's a process that you go through with MLB where they set you up on a prospect link site that you go through and put your stuff out there, and teams can contact you and send questionnaires and stuff. And so I would say right around the fall, I thought, wow, this can really happen. And then throughout the year, you can't help but look. There's some games where you go in and you pop up, you look up, and you got 10 or 15 guys with radar guns and looking around. And
you know what that's about.
And so it really started to become like less of a dream and more of this is something that can happen. Right around that.
It's hard because like right now I was talking to a bunch of guys who just got drafted. I've been doing a bunch of the rookie ball games, and they talked about how it was really weird for COVID, getting drafted, their process. For you in the 2019 class, you played college. Did you work out with any teams, or was it, hey, I have a body of work, I'm just going to wait till the draft? How did that process go?
It wasn't necessarily team workouts. I mean, because in 2019, we had been through a full season.
Yeah.
We played 62 games or something like that, where I carried my body over through the back half of my regular season. Obviously, the Big Ten tournament was pretty good. But and so that kind of spoke for itself. And I think really the big cap on it was my last outing as a Buckeye in the regional, and being able to kind of go out with a bang with that. And so there wasn't really many workouts after that. After really conference tournaments, a lot of boards are set. So then from that point, it was more logistical of, hey, where do you think I might be at in terms of rounds, figuring me out there, and then kind of just sitting and waiting for a call.
Yeah, what was it like being drafted for you?
It was fun. I mean, you wait for it your entire life, and so just to be able to, hear your name, even if it's not on, day one or day two, but to hear my name called, and to get a call from the team and say, hey, we're taking you, we're gonna have you down there, and this, that, and the other. I mean, it's fun. It's a dream come true. It still really hasn't sunk in. It doesn't feel like I have a job. It just doesn't feel like work. It feels like this is just what I do. This is fun. And so it's been really cool to just kind of enjoy the moment and let that go for a little bit.
Yeah. So once you're drafted, you're signed to Connecticut. That's crazy because it's a big transition. You get drafted, you go from being a Buckeye, and a few weeks later you're in Connecticut playing professional baseball. You had a great season there. I think it was like a 2-something ERA I saw. One, like, how was it playing there, and then adjusting to pro ball life?
It was really fun playing there. You get close with guys there because it's a lot different than college. In college, you have maybe a couple practice days. You see guys every day, but you have class and then 3-game series in the weekend. But now it's, we're playing every day, and you might get an off day and about 20 games. And so, it was fun. I loved it. I think I saw that at this level, the skill range isn't really that deep, that different than high-level college baseball. And so the adjustment wasn't really physical, mental. It was more so like more of the small tweaky stuff, like, hey, like, these is how you should sequence your pitches, and maybe paying attention more to guys on scouting reports because you're not seeing them every day. So so we talked about this a lot because we have a lot of recruits or people got drafted. COVID happened. You were a pro baseball player when COVID happened. What was that like for you, and how did you stay ready? Because it's your job now. It was kind of tough. I think we were just about ready to start playing games at the minor league level in spring training right when COVID shut everything down. And so going home, it was really kind of a tough scenario, trying to figure out, hey, can I maybe find a league to play in or something like that? And it ended up working out. So I threw a couple bullpens and then stopped. I stopped throwing, gave my arm a break for a while until right around November. And so things kind of started to loosen up a little, but we had some other pro guys that were there, of course, and had found a spot that we were able to go and look out and do things. And so it just turned into the first off season that I've ever had in terms of this is how I need to build my body and get my mind ready to do this for a full season. And so first one, a little tough. I mean, it's pretty hard to have that off season there and be out of competition for a year and a half, but I learned a lot, and I'm ready as soon as September 19th is to fix that and to come back next year and really try to get after it next year. So
it's your first season now. As when COVID happened, you're back down here. Like, it's the first time you've been like with a team that's going to play. April to September. What's that? What was this like? Your experience here? Playing single A and this.
It's been different because instead of kind of back games, we have a set schedule of 6 games and a day off on Monday, which I think they should keep. I think it's wonderful. I think it's a really good idea.
Because you're here, you're gonna be here 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, so we'll play 2 series here, 6-game series.
You have Palm Beach and then you get Jupiter.
And then we'll head back for 2 weeks at home.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the way the schedule's set up this time is fantastic. But I think we're getting it a little bit easy down there. I think they restructured the leagues better to where our travel for buses is maybe like, this is probably the longest trip we've had is 2 hours and 45 minutes. In Connecticut, we had 6-hour bus rides. We were grinding. We would have days where we would come back and the sun's coming up after we just played a game. We had a game that day. And so, you're sleeping until 1, 2 o'clock, and then you got to beat the field at 3. So
I remember vacationing down here, and you had Lakeland would come play like Palm Beach, and then a few days later they were in Tampa. Like it was like 3-day series. It was not this. Cool.
So it just makes the travel better. It makes game scheduling better, and I think it's definitely the move going forward.
Do you ever sit here and like think to yourself, you're like, man, I'm like in Florida right now. It's like just like doing this. Do you ever?
Yeah, sometimes I think there is kind of that idea of this is kind of a job with the routine of everything. But I mean, I'll take it. It's fun. I mean, you're in Florida, you're hanging out, and so getting to experience this is once in a lifetime. And so not trying to sit into a routine and kind of just go through the motions, but to really enjoy kind of the moments of those times and really take advantage of it.
Yeah. So the final 2 questions, we always finish out with it. So over the course of your career, what's the best piece of advice someone's ever told you?
I think that if you ever watch me throw, I get very emotional and very passionate about what I do. But it's always been being yourself. And it really sticks true. It is to be you the best you can be. Because if you, at the end of the day, if you look yourself in the mirror and say, like, I did what I thought I had to do, and did it to the best of my ability, you can go to sleep and really say, hey, I did everything that I could. And so I would much rather live on that and be able to stick within myself and improve what I'm good at and improve what I'm bad at, but really be myself as fully as I can, to where guys who play with me, being able to say, like, that was a good teammate, genuine guy, and was always himself. So that's really the biggest thing, is do what you can to the best of your ability as yourself.
It's awesome. This one, we always finish off with it, is when your career's over down the line, how do you want people to remember yourself? It's a tough one, man.
Yeah, it is a tough one. I love this game because it's so team oriented. And I've always liked to bring energy with whatever I'm doing in the bullpen or in the dugout. It's one of the best. It's one of the best things that you can ever hear is when someone says, "Hey, that guy was a great teammate." And all the other stuff that comes after it, or closing games or doing whatever. It's great, but at the end of the day, I want people to know me as Andrew Magno the person, not Andrew Magno the baseball player.
I can test that. I saw with the rain delay, you were running from the bullpen down the dugout, giving everyone.
And so it's I want people to know that, hey, this is a good guy, and he was a good teammate, he's a good dude to be around. And at the end of the day, if I had an impact on people because of me being a baseball player, that's great. But at the end of the day, I think I want to have more impact on people because of who I am. And so, and who I am is me, and it's what my identity is. And I think that's what I really want
Yeah.
people to.
Well, Andrew, I really appreciate
Yeah.
you on, man. It's nice
Thanks
to
for
have
having
a
me.
guy from Dublin on
Crazy.
for once, man. It's so
Crazy.
It's so nice. 'Cause I'm always like going around people from everywhere, but having someone from your
Mhm.
hometown, you
Yeah.
know, and everything is nice. So
For
thank you,
sure.
man.
Yeah, thank you.